assets being used in active business. We also can have it be paid to the children or the grandchildren. Let's say the children are now earning fairly good money, but the grandchildren are not yet earning good money, but have just turned 18, 19, and 20. So we could pay money out to the 3 grandchildren that maybe are going to university or further studies or traveling or whatever, and we could get money out to them without paying hardly any tax on it. So a family trust keeps control with you for up to 21 years. So in my example, these clients who did a family trust in the mid-90s, they were the trustees of their family trust with their accountant. They were able to make all the decisions. Now, let's say it's 21 years later, on the 21st anniversary of the trust is deemed to have disposed of all of its property. So now we have an option. We could elect to use to designate the children as capital beneficiaries and to designate the capital gain down to them, use the children or grandchildren's capital gains exemption to bump up the cost base of the shares of the company. And that can effectively be done, and you can start planning it now. Let's say you're a young couple. You're just starting out in farming, and you have children that are maybe 5, 6, and 7. You don't know which one of those children are going to farm. But by setting up a family trust now, you can have the future growth of the shares in your trust. By the time your 21 years have elapsed, you'll probably know which child is going to farm and which child isn't going to farm. And maybe you want to use the capital gains exemption of the non-farming children. Now, clients say to me often that, well, they're reluctant to use the capital gains exemption of their children. But actually, it's very effective to use the capital gains exemption of children that are not going to farm, because it's highly unlikely they're going to use it themselves. Very few Canadians use their capital gains exemptions except for farmers. It can be used for the sale of a small business corporation, but it has to pass a number of tests. So remember, if you gift to a child, you have to hold the farmland for 3 years. The property must qualify for the gift. What does that mean? Well, if it's land, it has to have been used principally in the business of farming more than for any other purpose. But for instance, on the weekend I was meeting with some clients, and the history of the exemption of their farmland was as follows. Great-grandpa had farmed since 1911, then grandpa farmed, then dad farmed. Dad started renting out the land only in 1992. So the farm had been farmed for many years and only rented out for 20 years. So they could qualify for the rural and the capital gains exemption, this farmland, for even if they rented it for another 70 years, because it has to have been just used principally in the business of farming, and you can count not only the current owner's time, but past owner's time. So in my example, supposing dad transfers the property to a child now on a roll by gift. I wouldn't advise him to do that. I'd advise him to use the capital gains exemption, but he could transfer by roll. So supposing dad does that, and supposing the child never farms the land, the land will still qualify for the roll because it's been used principally in the business of farming by any one of the great-grandparents, grandparents, parent, child, grandchild. So it's important that you recognize how all-inclusive the definition is. For a farm code, there's a twofold test. There must be 2 years when more than 50% of the value of the corporation is in assets used in active farming. And at the time of sale, 90% must be attributable of the value of the company must be attributable to assets used in active farming to qualify for the roll. Remember, if you're going to gift to a child, the child must hold for 3 years. So let's take the following example. Supposing that you've used all of your capital gains exemption, you and your wife, already. You now want to use your children's exemption. So you gift to adult children. They hold the land for 3 years. Then they can sell to a farm co, to your farm co, and get the cash and basically give the cash, cooperate, and give the cash back to you over a number of years. The child needs to have a will. They need to have a specific power of